Hi, I'm Akshat Malhotra. This is not just a standalone video, but a part of an entire course on the fundamentals of personal finance. All the videos so far covered everything you needed to know to set your basics and even understand the various financial avenues that are available to invest. Now, this particular module will cover diversification and financial planning in depth. Oh, and don't forget the free Excel calculators that we've created just for you. Coming to another interesting section now, the next chapter about diversification rules. Now that you understand the importance of diversification, the pillars on which diversification needs to be understood, let's go about looking at few of the rules on how do you go about actually diversifying your money. And to begin with that, one of the most basic rule and the common rule which I feel is great for any beginner if you're new into investments and you want to just go about making your first financial plan, this rule is all you need. And this is called the 100 age rule. What's the 100 age rule? Let's quickly understand this. Please note, this is only for all of your long-term investments. When I say long-term, a minimum of 10 to 15 years. Okay, so for all your long-term investments, you could blindly follow the 100 age rule. What does the 100 age rule says? It says, let's say I'm 35 years of age. I'm younger, but let's say I'm 35 years of age. 100 minus 35 is equal to 65. So 65% of my investment goes towards equity instruments. 65% of my investment goes towards equity investments. 35% of my investment goes towards fixed income instruments. That's it. As simple as that. 100 age rule says subtract your age by 100. The result, park that into equity based instruments. The remaining, park that into fixed income instruments. Yeah, I'm sure you must be asking, what about gold? What do we do with gold and real estate? Real estate, definitely it's a higher ticket size. We'll talk about it later. But gold, it is said that an ideal 5 to 10% allocation of your total money in gold is good. 5 to 10% is advised to have it. So let's say out of the 100% that you have, 10% you invest into gold. Of that remaining 90%, let's say if you had 1 lakh rupees, so 10,000 goes into gold. Out of that 90,000 rupees, use the 100 age rule. If you're 35 years of age, 65%. So 65% of that 90,000 rupees goes to your equity instruments and 35% of that 90,000 rupees goes towards your fixed income instruments. As simple as that. That's the 100 age rule. It suits perfectly for all of your long-term investments. All your long-term investments, all your long-term goals, can be fulfilled, can be thought about by using this 100 age rule. No brainer, plain simple mathematics, plain simple theory. That's it. The next up is strategic asset allocation, and something that can also be used to rebalance your portfolio, which means if you've started investing something, how do you go about rebalancing them time and again? This is for people who are at least at an intermediate level, who've spent some time with their investments and they can now go about analyzing how do they go about creating a financial plan. But let's learn about this and see if this makes sense to you. So strategic asset allocation, once again, I hope you can see the screen that we have. Just reduce the size a bit. Okay. So here you see on the right hand side, we have this yellow table. On this, we've mentioned each of the risk appetites, right? Aggressive, moderately aggressive, moderate, moderately conservative, and conservative. Now, what this also tells you is that against each of this risk appetite, what is the ideal percentage exposure you should have amongst equity and fixed income? Okay. So if you have an aggressive risk appetite for a particular goal, you can actually go all into equity. You can invest 100% of your money into equity if you have an aggressive risk appetite for a very, very long-term goal. And I would personally recommend 20 plus years of goal, you could go for 100% equity investment. So aggressive, 100% into equity, 0 into fixed income. Let's say moderately aggressive. So 75 into equity, 25 into fixed income. That's the allowed ideal percentage. If you have a moderate risk appetite for a particular goal, go 50-50. Moderately conservative, 35% of equity, 65% of fixed income. And conservative, 0 in equity, 100 into fixed income. This is definitely for all your goals that are short-term in nature. So now that you understand, these are the ideal scenarios, these are the ideal percentages, and this is a frame of reference. You can go 5-10% here and there, but for a frame of reference, you know this is what you should be following. So let's take an example of a particular goal where your risk appetite is moderately aggressive. Okay, so you have moderately aggressive, and 75% of that money you are going to invest towards equity instruments, 25% towards your fixed income instruments. Okay, let's look at this table on the left side. So let's say on the 1st of Jan 2021, you had 1 lakh rupees and you had a goal for which you wanted to start investing. You invested that 1 lakh rupees. You had moderately aggressive as the risk appetite. So you invested 75,000 rupees into equity, 25,000 rupees into fixed income. Okay, 75-25, plain simple. Now, let's say on 1st of June 2021, 1st of June 2021, I've put 2022, let's take 2021. 1st of June 2021, you made some great profits with your equity instruments. 75,000 became all 1,20,000, almost doubled. On the other hand, your fixed income also gave some decent return. So your 25,000 actually became 26,000. And you see that the total of 1 lakh that you've invested has actually become 1,46,000. Wow, within 6 months of time, you've gained a pretty decent return. And you're like, man, I've cracked the code. I know everything. I know how investments are done. I can create a course. So my 75,000 has become 1,20,000, super major profits, almost doubled the money. And I'm very, very happy. But at this particular time is what we need to think about our goal, our risk appetite. Not to be too greedy, not to get carried away with these immediate returns. Because always remember, if something is going up, it might come down as well. And so let's say if you'd invested this for a goal that you're about to achieve, you don't have too much of time in hand, then in that case, it's very important for you to rebalance your portfolio. And how do you go about rebalancing your portfolio? So as you see here, if you see the total has become 1,46,000. Your equity went from 75,000 to 120 and your fixed income went from 25 to 26. So this in total has become 1,46,000. Now this 1,46,000, if you look at the percentages, so since after 1,46,000, 120 is equity, so which means you have an 82% exposure in equity and 18% exposure in fixed income. You were allowed 75 and 25. Your equity has gone up from 75 to 82. Your fixed income has gone down from 25 to 18. That's not what you're allowed to do. You have a moderately aggressive risk appetite, so you should maintain the 75-25 ratio, right? And so in this case, what we're going to do is we're going to rebalance the portfolio. And how do we do that? We're going to do that in a way that we come down to the 75-25 ratio. So 1,46,000, what's going to be the 75% of that? 75% of 1,46,000 is 1,09,500. 25% is 36,500. So what I'm going to do, from my 1,20,000 rupees, I'm going to take out 10,500 rupees and move that towards my fixed income instruments. So which means you could call this some sort of a profit booking. I've taken out 10,500 rupees from my 1,20,000 rupees and moved that to my fixed income. I've booked some profits that I've made. And now again, I'm still invested into equity. And I'm invested in a way that my proportion, my ratio, my exposure is back to the 75-25 ratio that I was originally allowed to do. How simple, right? How simple. And at the same time, we've answered a very common question that all of us often get. पैसे निकालें कि नहीं निकालें? Should we withdraw our money from the markets or should we not? Well, this answer is right in front of you. Associate that to your goal, associate that to your risk appetite, associate that to your time in hand. Did you get that? Did that make sense? You take out 10,500, move that to fixed income. So you've withdrawn some money, booked your profit, and at the same time, you've maintained the 75-25 ratio. And that's what strategic asset allocation is. That's what rebalancing your portfolio is. One important point, although I've taken a 6-month time frame here, it's not necessary that you need to do once in 6 months. It all depends on your own risk appetite. If it's a short-term goal, I would say you do that even often, maybe once in 3 months. If it's a long-term goal, you don't have to do it once in 6 months. You could do once in 2 years, once in 3 years. So based on the time in hand that you have in order to achieve that goal, you must do this rebalancing your portfolio, okay? And look at it from a strategic point of view. At the end of the day, what we want to do is achieve our financial goals, go towards the path of financial freedom. I hope that was interesting. I hope you liked that. See you in the next chapter. If you have any questions, please add them in the comments below and I will make sure we answer them. Do like, share and subscribe to this channel.